There's a Somali-American suicide bomber and a British-Somali suicide bomber in a house in Eastleigh in Nairobi, Kenya. They're about to go out on a mission. There is 20,000 feet above the house is a drone with a Hellfire missile on it. In Creech, American Air Base outside Las Vegas, there is Aaron Paul's character, the drone pilot. In Mission Control outside London is Helen Mirren's character, who is the commander of the mission, which is a joint Kenyan-American-British mission. And in Whitehall is the chief of military staff, the Alan Rickman character, with the politicians. And on the ground is Barkat Abdi's character, who is a Kenyan intelligence officer. And they're about to strike the house and take these two suicide bombers out when a 9-year-old girl arrives on the street with a table. She sets the table up outside the house to sell some bread. So she's now in the kill zone. What do they do? I spoke to Chris, who was one of our consultants who stayed with the project. And they were telling me about the kill chain, which is if everybody's got the battlefield on their computers and they can have an instantaneous response to it, the general, if we can call him a general, or the military commander, is no longer in charge or is in charge of what happens, but everybody can see the event simultaneously. And of course they'll want to interfere, whether it be the military back at base in London, or whether it be politicians in Washington, or in this case the foreign secretaries in Singapore. They've all got the scene on the computer, and if it's a moral dilemma, as we've set up in Eye in the Sky, then they'll all have an opinion. And so that decision about whether to strike or not to strike goes up and down what they call is the kill chain. You might think that the humanitarian point of view in the film is do not drop that hellfire and do not kill that girl or kill anybody innocent who happens to be in that zone. Yes, but that's complicated because you will find out that actually the Alan Rickman character, the military boss in Whitehall, has experiences of his soldiers being killed by suicide bombers. So it's complex for him about what to do, because if these two suicide bombers leave the house, then they might kill a lot more people than the people who might be killed in that house and in the surrounds of that house. So it's important to set up that dilemma, and I think what I should be doing as a humanitarian response to this issue is set out all the arguments. Because I think if you just set out one argument and say, morally, this is wrong, you're actually presenting a statement to the audience, and I don't think that's good for an audience. I think the audience should see the arguments and come to their own conclusion. They're interesting, these drone pilots, because they go from home, they have breakfast with their kids or their wives or whatever, and they drive to the base. They go into these what look like shipping containers in the desert, and they sit there and they control a drone that is flying over Afghanistan, Africa, wherever. And they do this for day after day, month after month, and nothing happens. They are looking at goats on mountains, they're looking at people walking down streets on bicycles. Nothing's happening day after day. And then one day they will go in and suddenly they are faced with a situation whereby they're about to target and kill a group of terrorists and possibly some innocent people. And I think that's, for a drone pilot, that's a very surreal situation, and it's a very disturbing situation. There are 3 drones in the film. There is the Reaper drone, which is 20,000 feet, as the size of an aeroplane. And then there's the African bird drone, the drone the size of a smaller than a parrot, the size of maybe a goldfinch. And then there is the Beetle drone, the tiny little drone that the Americans are developing at the moment. There's a certain absurdity in what happens, and that comes across in the writing. The fact that a politician just cannot make the decision and just has to refer up is a rather darkly humorous situation anyway. When it's not the first time it happens, but when it happens again and again and again, and the audience get worked up into more and more despair over what's happening, then it does become darkly humorous. It's very important for a director to feel the script is his, and that process of handing over the script from screenwriter to director is very important, and you have to let go of your script, and it's very important that you do let go of the script. So he had a script that was faithful to what I was trying to create, and it was very, very important for him that the reasons for creating that script were still there. Most important of all for him, that he was faithful to the project. And what he enables it to do, he's been able to put it onto the big screen. So he's able to recreate the script on a big canvas, and he does that phenomenally well.